Republican Congressman Jeff Flake from Arizona. Thanks for coming in this morning. We
Thanks
appreciate it. Okay, so is the president's plan dead on arrival?
As it is written, yes, I believe it is.
Why?
The president himself said just a year or so ago, you don't raise taxes in the middle of a recession, and I think we're probably still there. And it doesn't make sense to raise taxes on those who we're counting on to create jobs out there.
Well, the president at least tried to put sort of a compromise in there. He said, you know, if Medicare and Medicaid are on the table, why can't raising the taxes on people making over $1 million a year be on the table too? Why can't everything be on the table?
What should be on the table, certainly, is what the president has talked about before, and Republicans have talked about for a long time, lowering the overall rate so we're more competitive internationally in particular, but then getting rid of exemptions and deductions and tax expenditures. There might be additional revenue that's generated there, not just as a result of additional economic growth, although that will certainly come. Well, so I think there's room for compromise, but not in raising
taxes.
No, not in raising tax rates, and that's what shouldn't be done.
Did you sign the tax pledge?
Yes, I think every Republican has.
Grover Norquist, right?
Yes,
his tax
in the last election. Yes.
Explain to people why this guy is so important. Nobody elected him to office.
Well, I think everyone recognizes we shouldn't raise tax rates. Now, there's a difference between generating additional revenue that will come from tax reform. That's great. That will aid the economy, will pay down the debt faster. But raising tax rates to levels that are unsustainable in terms of being able to compete is just not right.
But let's be honest about this. Taxes are the lowest they've been since the 1970s. So the wealthiest are enjoying lower taxes and have been for quite some time. The wealthiest businesses are sitting on millions and millions of dollars, and they're not hiring, even though the taxes are low. So I think that many in America are sitting there wondering, well, what is the answer? Because we already proposed all of these debt reduction things, right? So that's happening right now. The super committee's planning to cut 1 point something trillion more from our debt. So
you have to remember to cut 1 point something million more, we're running over $1 trillion a year deficit right now. If you cut $1 trillion more, that's over a 10-year period. So we frankly need to cut a lot more than that. But we need to do more than simply promise to cut providers on Medicare.
But
that's what the president is talking about.
We can make all the cuts we want, but there will still be debt there. And don't you need revenue to pay that debt down?
That's exactly it.
Right.
And that's why we need to generate additional revenue.
So where will that revenue come from if it's not taxes?
It can come from tax reform, but not higher tax rates. And there's a difference there. Right now, our rates, the president is talking about taking the top rate all the way up into the 40s. And that's simply not competitive.
He's taking them back to the levels when President Clinton was in office. Isn't that what he wants to do?
The president himself said just a year ago we shouldn't raise taxes during a recession, but that's what he's talking about doing. We're not out of the woods yet, and if we want the economy to grow, we have to have competitive tax rates, plus we've got to have some kind of moratorium on regulation. I mean, when I talk to people around, it's not just uncertainty on taxes moving ahead or health care expenses, it's regulation. And these agencies right now are just a little out of control. I think the president recognized that last week with the ozone regulations. We need to go much further than that.
Do you know how frustrating this same argument is to voters?
Hey, believe me, I do. And that's why we've got to go in. We haven't reformed the tax code since 1986. Anybody who has an attic realizes, after a while you just need to take out the clutter. There are a lot of exemptions and deductions.
But the president said that he's interested in tax reform. I mean, this is a first step
and we will
to tax
join him.
reform.
That's why I said I think there is room for compromise and for work in lowering the tax rate and getting rid of exemptions and deductions and credits, which are taken advantage of, let's face it, more by those who have the means to hire lawyers than those who don't. And so it will make the tax code far more fair than it is today. I think it'll generate additional revenue, and certainly as a result of economic growth, we'll have more revenue.
Before you go, I wanted to ask you the class warfare question, because that's what we're asking our audience. The Republicans are accusing President Obama of class warfare, pitting rich against poor. Is that what he's doing?
Yes, I have to say. And I'm not out to criticize the president unduly here, but that's what it is. It really is. It's basically saying that those who have earned more should pay more than those who.
No, he's
who
saying
haven't.
that the playing field should be leveled. He's
Well,
not saying the
that's-
wealthy should pay more than the middle class pays in taxes.
No, but he is. He is. He's saying raise the top rate. That means the wealthy will pay more than they are right now. They pay at a higher rate than others do as well.
So what
but
Warren
but if
Buffett
you,
says isn't true?
Well, what Warren Buffett is saying is that investment income should be
Right.
taxed at the same rate as income, ordinary income, and it should not. Investment income has been taxed once already. If we want to create jobs, the last thing you want to do is slap another tax or a higher tax on capital gains or dividends. That just isn't what you do. It makes for good politics, I grant you. It's populism at its best. But it makes for lousy economics.
I think there are politics on both sides, and I don't think I'm going to convince you of anything. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. We
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it.